Thank you, Acting Speaker, and congratulations on your elevation for today's session. I rise to speak on the Building Legislation Amendment Domestic Building Insurance New Offences Bill of 2023. And in doing so, I'd like to acknowledge and commend the work of all the relevant ministers, their officers, their departments, for having brought this bill to the Parliament, including, of course, the Minister for Consumer Affairs, the former Minister for Consumer Affairs as well, the Minister for Planning, and all the other relevant Cabinet colleagues and their teams. Acting Speaker, it's long been the great Australian dream, as we know, for people to own their own home. It has been the dream of so many previous generations and a driving force for so many successive waves of migrants who've come to Australia and Victoria to build a better life for their families and their grandchildren, to work for, buy and own one's home and leave a legacy for their children and their grandchildren. Owning one's home or contributing to the cost of one's housing is, for many of us, as has been pointed out in today's debate, likely the biggest and most important ever asset or investment contribution we'll make over the course of our working lives. Indeed, housing continues to remain a high priority for many young Victorians, young families and people both across the state and, of course, across my electorate of Pascoe Vale, Coburg and Brunswick West, because we know there is no more important issue anywhere across the state right now than housing. Whether it be first home buyers, families, young people, retirees or renters, or whether it be people experiencing housing stress or homelessness, every Victorian deserves an affordable, accessible and safe place to live. In this respect, I am proud to be part of an Allen Labor government that continues to elevate housing as a top policy priority. Whilst taking real action to lift and improve housing supply, the quality of homes and via better protections for consumers across the building industry, including through the bill before us today, which I'll get to in a moment. But some of these key housing initiatives that this bill does build on includes the development of a new Plan Victoria, which will set out the next steps to address the state's future 2050 housing and land use needs, the recently released Victorian Housing Statement, which puts forward an ambitious plan to tackle housing affordability and supply by setting a bold target to build 800,000 new homes across the state over the next decade, the $5.3 billion big housing build, which is delivering a pipeline of 12,000 new social and affordable homes and community homes across the state, including the 198 new homes at the Brunswick West Harvest Square project, big build project in my electorate, and the previously introduced rental fairness package, which cracks down and reforms renting to make renting fairer for renters. And that's why we've also been, of course, supporting and investing to grow the construction industry's workers' pipelines through game-changing initiatives like free TAFE, incentives for apprentices, investment towards new skills and technology hubs, including the $17.8 million Coburg Technology Hub and the Plumbing Climate Industry Action Centre, which will and do service my community. However, Acting Speaker, notwithstanding these positive measures, we know that as demand for housing grows and demand on the housing construction industry continues to grow as we build more homes, that we must keep ensuring that protections for consumers continue to be strengthened and that the conduct and craftsmanship of builders delivering these new homes continues to adhere to the highest of possible standards whilst protecting consumers. And in doing so, we must ensure that we continue to place the consumers, the hard-working families and people who invest their hard-earned savings towards building or renovating their first or forever homes at the heart of the building and construction sector's standards and protections, particularly as we strive for that 800,000 new home target. Acting Speaker, as many of us know, our building construction industry is one of the biggest and most important sectors in terms of economic, business, jobs and skills outcomes across the state. According to some data the Parliamentary Library has just supplied me, there's 127,000 firms across Victoria. The largest number of firms of any industry is in the construction industry. 79,000 or 62% of those are sole traders. And in terms of workforce and workers, it's 361,000 construction jobs across the sector. And in my own community, it's just as important. With 16% of local registered businesses, or over 2,600 businesses involved in construction, the biggest of any sector in my community, and 7% of local residents employed in construction, over 6,500 local workers, also one of the highest sectors that local residents are employed in. And again, notwithstanding all the positive contribution that the sector makes and the workers do, there is, of course, as we've heard through today's debate, some of those rogue elements throughout the industry that do need to be called out and made to comply with regulations, which this bill will seek to do by protecting consumers first. As outlined in the Victorian Building Authority's annual report, most recent one, the VBA performs an average of around 12,000 inspections of buildings that are under construction annually, with waterproofing and weatherproofing continuing to remain the areas of the highest compliance risk. And during 22-23, the VBA reported that it received 1,700 plumbing complaints and over 1,700 building complaints. Plumbing complaints increased by 21% on the previous year, while building complaints actually reduced by 3%. But according to the VBA, one of the main reasons for the increase in plumbing complaints has been the result of consumers seeking plumbing compliance certificates after building works on their site ceased as a result of builder insolvencies and collapses last year. And in this respect, that's why we've arrived here, of course, with the bill before us. On the 31st of March 2023, one of Australia's largest home builders, Porter Davis, collapsed, with Grant Thornton Partners appointed as liquidators of the Porter Davis Group, which covers 14 companies. With around 1,500 homes in progress at the time by Porter Davis in Victoria and 779 customers having also signed contracts with building yet to commence, many Victorian Porter Davis customers were very much shocked, to say the least, that their builder had gone under. However, it was following the collapse of Porter Davis that it was revealed that more than 560 building owners or prospective building owners were at risk of losing their entire deposit due to the failure of Porter Davis to obtain domestic building insurance, whilst they continued to accept deposits for projects that had not started at the time that the company entered or was heading into liquidation. Subsequently, during this period, the government also became aware of other builders who also did not obtain DBI for their customers' deposits. And of course, as we know, DBI is a crucial step in maintaining the integrity and confidence for community members and, of course, individual consumers engaged in those respective construction projects in the industry. DBI is mandatory for contracts where contract price for domestic works is over $16,000, and current practice to date has been that DBI be taken out by the builder on behalf of the homeowner. Homeowners are covered for up to $200,000 in policies issued before July 2014 and for up to $300,000 in policies issued after July 2014. And DBI does provide some level of protection to homeowners in the event that their building project cannot be completed or has defective works which cannot be rectified for various reasons. But upon the collapse of Porter Davis, as I mentioned, there was 560 owners or prospective owners who hadn't had DBI obtained on their behalf by Porter Davis. And it's an absolute disgrace, to say the least. It's an unforgivable act that caused significant financial and emotional distress, trauma and uncertainty for hundreds of these Victorian families across the state, including in my own community, which I'll touch on if I have the time. And of course, in response to these actions, the Victorian Labor government stepped in on the 20th of April in 2023 to help hard-working and honest Porter Davis customers get back on their feet by compensating those customers who were left without insurance through no fault of their own. And on July 23, the government also subsequently set up the Liquidated Builders Customer Support Payment Scheme for customers of other builders whose businesses have collapsed between July 22 and June 23, where those customers were at risk of also losing deposits because the builder hadn't ascertained DBI. And that's why I'm so pleased to be here to support this bill. It's a bill that's designed to ensure that protections are enhanced for building consumers and stronger powers are provided to the VBA to take actions against builders who accept deposit money without first taking out the required DBI insurance. In terms of those reforms contained in this bill, there will be increased penalties for those builders who do the wrong thing, with individuals who commit an offence facing a fine of up to $96,000 in fines and $480,000 for body corporates, and also provide the VBA, as I said, with stronger enforcement powers. Acting Speaker, I'd just like to turn to three cases, if I may, of just three of the constituents that have contacted me in relation to being impacted by this issue and other building issues in my community. Alex, a local Coburg resident, was one of those victims of the Porter Davis collapse who contacted my office in September 2023. Alex bought land in Craigieburn West independently as part of a new estate and started building his home with Porter Davis. The builders had only completed the concrete foundation when the company went into insolvency. Alex subsequently has engaged and followed up with the Victorian Management Insurance Authority, VMIA, accordingly to pursue a claim which my office continues to assist with. But another local young mum, Belinda from Pascoe Vale, and her family had well and truly been in the construction phase of building their home locally with Porter Davis in Pascoe Vale until its collapse. In their case, Porter Davis had actually taken out building insurance. However, the policy stipulated that it would cease 60 days after the works on the project had stopped. This meant that from the collapse of Porter Davis at the end of March 23, Belinda and her family were extremely distressed about ascertaining clarity on the status of their works, appointing a new builder and seeking new insurance certainty over their project before the original Porter Davis policy was due to expire in May of 23. And we continue to, of course, assist Belinda through her experiences. Also, another local dad, Hamish from Pascoe Vale, has been in touch with my office in relation to his family's home building case, which also hit uncertainty following his respective builder's collapse and liquidation, and we continue to work with Hamish in engaging with the VMEA process. Acting Speaker, this is a bill that really is about fairness in the construction industry. It's about transparency. It's about rebuilding the integrity and trust that Porter Davis took out of it. I commend the bill.